distinguished guests, please make some noise as we welcome on stage Victoria Ibezim Ohari for the first plenary session. Please put your hands together for her as she comes.
Good afternoon, distinguished delegates. Good afternoon. Yes, please. It's my pleasure to be your host again at the during this conversation, the AML Women in AML CFT Africa. I'm very happy to be moderating this conversation. During my opening remarks, I did tell you some of the people, especially women, who may not be on the front lines, but they are the ones retaining institutional memory. They are the ones powering the wheels of progress and transitions in the AML CFT journey. And that has inspired the need for us to have this conversation. Because if you look around the room, you can see there are many women, right? Hello? There are so many women in many compliance forums, many platforms where you have women in ML. At the beginning stage, you see a lot of women, but the higher you go, the fewer women we see at the decision-making echelons of the ML CFC ecosystem. And we are now trying to use this platform to reflect on women's journey in AML. And to join me in having that discussion, I have a pool of women, an assembly of women, some of the best women you can find in AML CFT Africa. And in no particular order, I am happy to invite Mrs. Juliet Ibekako Nwago. Ms. Ibekako Nwago, for you to know a little bit about her, she won the prestigious Egmont Best Case Award while serving as the director of the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit. Then it was under the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. And also, she has been recognized for her success in investigating and resolving very complex corruption and money laundering cases. And during her tenure as head of NFIU, her investigative framework and operational effectiveness was celebrated by Egmont Group, and that was what was instrumental in removing Nigeria from the FATF grey list in 2013. Mrs. Julia, please welcome. I'm also happy to welcome Mrs. Gina Wood. Mrs. Gina is the acting principal legal officer of the Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering. She's an experienced legal officer with a demonstrated history in assisting West African countries in drafting legislation and implementing measures to combat money laundering, financing of terrorism, and proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. She's the legal professional graduated from the University of Ghana and a product of the Ghana School of Law and a solicitor and advocate of the Supreme Court of Ghana. Mrs. Gina, please, I'm happy to welcome you. Also joining Gina, we have Mrs. Moremi Kelebogile. Mrs. Moremi is a legal expert at the Eastern and Southern Africa Anti-Money Laundering Group, where she works on policy, governance, legislative reform, regulatory frameworks across the Eastern and Southern African region. Since joining the Secretariat in 2024, she has supported member countries in reviewing legislation and contributing to mutual evaluations and national risk assessments. She has more than 16 years of professional experience and has built a distinguished career in public governance, legislative governance, and regulatory reform. Mrs. Kelebogile, welcome to the discussion. And also, I'm happy to invite Rianne Portegeta. She's the CEO of International Federation of Compliance Associations, FAS Africa. She's a chartered accountant and internationally certified compliance professional. And from 2018 to 2025, she served as the CEO of the Compliance Institute of South Africa. And she's currently the CEO of the IFCA, has more than 27 years experience, 27 years experience in banking and finance and compliance as well. Welcome, Mrs. Rayan. And we also have, we need one more chair, please. We also have Mrs. Ibiwoye Folakemi Wumi from the Central Bank. She's the Senior Financial Crimes Analyst at the Financial Crimes Division of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Mrs. Ibiwoye Wumi, please join us. Yes, she's coming. And she oversees at the Compliance Department, the Financial Crime Division. They oversee non-prudential risk and combat financial crimes across the financial system. The department consolidates the Apex Bank's oversight in financial crimes and also enterprise security, market conduct, and corporate governance to safeguard Nigeria's financial sector. And the last but not the least, please, I would like to invite Mrs. Ibinabo Amakri. I told you already that she's the one that inspired this conversation. And she's going to tell her story in her own words. Ms. Ibinabo, please join us. She is the head of the Special Control Unit Against Money Laundering Lagos Zone. She is in charge of all the states in the Southwest and also oversees the DNFBPs also in the Southwest. I hope that chair is strong enough. It's looking bent. So you can see this is a women-studded panel. And we want to hear from the women. Because whenever you hear CEO, the chairman of this, the chairman of that, behind all of those institutions and those strong political statements, there are lots of people working behind the scenes who make things happen. So let's hear directly from the women in AML. Let's start with you, Ms. Juliet. Ms. Juliet, your story goes a lot ahead of you. And I want us to start with stereotypes. I'll tell you a story about Mrs. Juliet. We did a training for senior bank executives, all the banks in Nigeria, and brought together all their senior bank executives in the room. And you know, I have a high-pitched voice, baritone voice, and I talk authoritatively, which can be misunderstood. So after the meeting, two of the senior executives, one of them called me and said, please come, there is somebody you remind me of. You must know Juliet Ibekako. She is a no-nonsense woman. And another executive also met me at a different occasion, mentioned her name and said she is a very strong woman. You know, these are stereotypes to give women at the top. And these stereotypes, sometimes they are positive, sometimes they are not so positive. And sometimes they can be career limiting. So let's talk about stereotypes. What are those stereotypes that people have heard about you? And when people said you are a no-nonsense woman, what are the things that created that impression? And how does it ever hold you back? Can you tell us that story of how that stereotype emerged?
Thank you very much. Let me start by saying that it's such a great pleasure to be here and to thank the organizers, Victoria, your team, the professor who is here with us today, and almost everybody. It's really been a delight coming in here because I've not seen a number of, so many of my colleagues that I worked with over the period of my career. This is now 33 years as a lawyer and more than 25 years, I would say, working in law enforcement, prosecution, and intelligence. So that goes with history, right? And on this, our panel, I have two of my colleagues, I would say, who work closely with me, both at Giaba, Gina, And Binabo, whom I worked with closely in the FCC. In fact, I could say almost half of this room I've worked with either both the men and the women, and with all of them, I found passion and I found excellent skills. Now, when we talk about stereotype, for me, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't count, because when I have work to do, I focus on getting the work done. Now, what is said after that could be, as you said, it could be limiting, because you don't know the rooms where those conversations would be had. Mm-hmm. And I won't tell you any rosy story about myself, and the people in this room would know that. It's never an easy journey when you are at the very top and you want to make changes. It's not just about the men or women issue. I won't even say that's the issue. I would say that what is the issue is whether we agree and that we have a mission and we want to execute a mission. We have an objective and we feel like this is something we want to do. That brings me back into the field of anti-money laundering and countering financing of terrorism. It's been a very big challenge, that sector, especially in many African countries, and for Nigeria in particular. When we were going through the process of coming out and going back into the grey list, it was either Nigeria wanted to remain and, continue to have the challenges, or whether we wanted to exit and then address the problems. It didn't sit well with many people, and the decisions that we are taking could affect some people. It's about interest. It's about power dynamics. Mm-hmm. I didn't see the power dynamics. I only saw the results. And that is where I'm probably different. How do we get this done? What do we need to do to get this done? Who will get it done for me, rather than whether it will affect me as an individual. Did it affect me as an individual? Yes. And so many people in this room will tell you the story. But I think today, I can tell this story because I stood my ground on those issues. I will leave it at that. Thank you.
So, Rihanna, I come back to you. You heard what she said. It's not really a woman or man issue, but about getting something done. But do you think there are unique attributes or special advantages women bring to the AML table?
Thank you. So working? Yeah. Thank you very much. I also have to put that disclaimer up front. I think when we start to talk about differences between men and women, one should always recognize that these attributes are definitely in all people, be they men or women. But if you took it on an average, there are certain attributes that I think are more likely attributed to women than to men. Mm-hmm. But with that proviso, I think, and I really hesitate to say things like this. I feel distinctly uncomfortable to say things like this, but I think women have a natural caring ability. They tend to be the caretakers of the children. They are the bearers of the children. So there's a natural inclination to be more caring. And I think that spills over into a field like anti-money laundering and countering terrorist financing, because it's not about that per se, it's the ultimate objective, and that is to have a safe society. So I think that's for me one of the things that women tend to bring more to the discussion. And then I think others also, again, are speaking on average as an intuitiveness. Yeah.
You can use this.
Okay, better? Is that better? Yeah, maybe an intuitive, more of an intuitive approach. So, not mechanistic, looking at risk and looking at identification and prioritizing risks, but reading between the lines, so to speak. But again, as I say, I think that's also a lot of men have that as well.
Thank you. I will come to you, Gina. There is this cliche, women supporting women. I remember the story you told when you joined Giaba, that a sister supported you and even gave you some accommodation for some months until you stabilized. So this cliche in the MLCFT, sector, does it work for women? Has it helped you? Did it in any way contribute to your career success?
Thank you very much, Victoria. From the onset, I'd like to thank you very much for the invitation and also for the warm welcome I've received in Nigeria so far. Nigeria has always been my home. At a point, I was declared an enemy, but I still loved coming back as an enemy because I saw something very good in Nigeria as a pace setter in the region. And for us Nigerians who find it difficult trying to speak in French, I believed that we're not ready to move to Benin, where we cannot communicate in French. I joined JABA in 2009, and I'll say I was discovered by Juliet somewhere in 2007 when we had a program in Ghana. And then in 2008, when I had to join the mutual evaluation of the Gambia as an observer, I traveled with my head of department, who was also a female. Well, she decided to find her route in the Gambia and left the work to me, the observer. I would say that when it comes to women supporting women, it has worked for me, and I believe it has not worked for me just because I'm a woman, but it's because I allowed myself to be discovered and I applied myself to the time. We hear a lot about affirmative action, a certain percentage for women. Fine, affirmative action is good, but I would like to be there based on my competence, because I can say I'm the type who cannot see red and call it green. So if you give me the job, you are giving it to me because you believe in my competence and you allow me to work. So women supporting women, yes, has helped me, but where I have really applied myself and seen that it pays to at least let the person who identified you feel proud that the person has made something out of you. And I will say that in JABA, like Julia said, she sees only results. And people kept asking me, how do you manage to work with Juliet without having any issues? So, well, you are the issue because you don't want to work. You have to see things her way, she sees things your way, and we move in the same direction. Our direction is for the future, a better future for all of us, humanity and building trust. And I can say the boss I worked with was like Juliet. Estelle Apia, she wouldn't mind me mentioning her name everywhere. She was a judge, also the most difficult person in the whole Ministry of Justice and Attorney General's department in Ghana. And I hear when I left, people kept saying Estelle is feeling lonely because Gina is the only person who understood Estelle. And so maybe we have to bring her back. But I'm happy to say that through their support and also the support of mostly men, my bosses have also been men. From Nigeria, Professor Abdullah Shehu, I called him my mentor. He is my mentor and still my mentor, but I continue saying I'm his tormentor because he allowed me to say the kinds of things that I could say, to the extent that I could say that, look, the NFIU does not even exist in law. And then now we have NFIU existing in law and doing a lot of things globally. And I can say that from both sides, it has been that good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think you heard some of the things she said. Some of the things she said might disrupt the women's movement, who strongly believe that certain affirmative action or certain seats, like in Nigeria now, we're having what they call the Women Reserved Seats Bill, which is trying to use legislation to force the hand of the electoral process to reserve certain seats for women. So, but what she's saying is that while that may be useful, but let the competence be the ultimate driver of a woman's role. So do you agree with that statement?
Good morning, everyone, and thanks a lot for giving me the platform as well. First of all, to say I agree 100% with what she said. And I think also comes with the credibility. And that is, if you heard from the three speakers, there was a consistency in terms of performance, hardworking, and having the ability to deliver. So it's not just about the gender itself, but it's also the ability, when presented with that opportunity, to be able to show that you can deliver, you can produce quality. And speaking from my previous experience, because I see there are a lot of lawyers or people with the legal background in the panel. Back home, when I was working for government, I worked at the Attorney General's chambers. I was a legislative counsel, and I progressed to be the chief legislative counsel for our country. So what it does is it puts you right at the front seat to be able to engage with the highest offices in the land. And sometimes the kind of instructions that you get, because if it's about coming up with legislative frameworks or drafting laws, the instruction could be coming directly from the head of state. So as the custodian of both the laws of a particular country and the custodian of the constitution of the respective countries, for you to deliver the bad news and say to the big men, no, this is not possible, this is unconstitutional. So you learn to get to be exposed to that at a very early stage of your legal profession as you do the work. But what will bring credibility is your consistency and your ability to stand firm and speak to the principles and actually say, no, this is how it's done, right? And without bowing to the pressure. And if you see there's a woman, usually it's where does she get the guts to actually say that to me, and for some of us, I don't know whether it's a blessing or it's a curse. I look younger than I am actually. So when you are there, you have to appear before the minister or even the head of state, and you say to him, no, we saw this instruction, but it's not possible. We can't do it because the constitution says this. So this is unconstitutional. Don't even think about it. The first thing is, first of all, she's young. Secondly, she most probably doesn't have the experience of how government works. So it's only when you say, no, I've actually been doing this, when you start laying out your profile, that they then realize, oh, there's actually a wealth of knowledge. And now when you start advising and giving, how different things work, especially from the public governance point of view and regulation, then they start seeing, the wisdom in what you're trying to share and the advice. And actually the narrative changes immediately to say, okay, how would you advise we do it? So that's one thing that I learned, and it didn't come from being a woman, but it was the consistency in being able to show that you know what you're doing, you understand it, doing your homework, and getting there prepared. So I think I agree 100% with what the other panelists have said. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelabuyegile. I'm coming to Ibiwe. Yes, you work with Nigeria's Apex Bank, and you heard when I said the tone at the top is always important because that is what comes all the way down. And as a female executive, what factors do you consider essential for driving compliance without compromising the standards?
Thank you for that question. First and foremost, I think I'll have to give a credit to Central Bank of Nigeria. Is an institution that is gender fluid. If you can do it, the sky is your limit in Central Bank, whether you are a man or a female. And the moment you position yourself as a problem-solving person, CBN allows you to fly. At every point in time when they are looking for something to be done, your name is in the front. So, and I think what I'll say is the most important, consistently delivering on an assignment, I think was the key for me. At every point in time, you're giving an assignment, you're not seeing challenges, you're saying, let me see how I can contribute to this. And for me, I'm always an advocate of working smart. How can I do this thing within a space of short time and deliver the best? That is what drives how I work. And I have a background in accounting. When I transited to AML in 2014 by CBN, just setting up AML CFT decks, and I was moved there. And out of the 17 members, I was the youngest. 2 were females, 5 were male, and they were lawyers. So their terminologies is different from my own background. And I looked at myself sometimes when they are talking in the room, I'll just be looking, can I survive in this place? What are they saying? But like I said, we're only 2 females. So the other female automatically became my mentor because she has the law background. It was tough because she will put me in the room and tell me, Fola, get a jotter. What do you understand by this law? What do you understand by this regulation? I could remember one thing that we always talked about then, the act and the regulation, which supersede one. It's something I found difficult to get, but she keep talking about it, that there is a difference. And from there, and I discovered that, okay, for me to excel in this place, I need to apply myself. I need to develop skills in this. So reading and reading, looking for new knowledge, set me apart at the end of the day. And today in Central Bank, I think I earned the name. People call me Queen of AML, despite the fact I have accounting background. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Ibn Abba, we're coming to you. Heard what she said. You are also an insider. She said, as long as you are working smart and constantly delivering results, the system gives you the opportunity to demonstrate that competence. Has that been true for you?
Thank you very much for that question. Indeed, every system recognizes an individual that can deliver and give results. And for every director that is appointed, is always looking for the good hands that it can always work with. So be it a woman or a male, but especially when it happens to be a woman, and you can actually now unlock your potential. Someone like me, I love intellectual challenge. And for me, that is what has been the driving force for me in my experience of 20 years now in AML CFT, starting from the NFIU up to SCUMO. And so whenever there is a challenge, I take it up. Whether I've been sufficiently trained on it or not, I see that I can make headway in this particular aspect, and I go all out. And once I begin to research and apply the knowledge, and of course, the directors are always been very, very supportive. And as long as that brings result to the table, it's always counted as a positive factor. Thank you.
Maybe I could just also ask you that in that role, does mentorship play any role? You know, and being a female, a senior executive in the AML CFT, how do you spot potential early and say, this person, I see potential, let me invest in him or her? And how do you also retain that potential, considering that people are now looking for talent to, you know, take up? Yeah.
Thank you very much. So for me as a young professional at the NFIU, Madam Juliet here actually ensured that we worked our hearts out. She's a hard worker. In fact, in the morning when she's coming, your reports are not ready. You know that that day, it will not be a good day. And one thing she also taught us by way of mentorship is team building, working as a team, organizing meeting, stakeholder engagement. I learned all of that from her. Now, I've also grown across, or I'm growing up the ladder. Most specifically, this recent project that we had to undertake in SCUMO. Like yesterday, I said at the master class, no one appointed me to be the coordinator for the NPO risk assessment. I took it up myself as a challenge. And I assembled my colleagues. And the good thing with them is that if they see that you indeed know what you're doing, and you seem to have good understanding of what the subject matter is, they've always been very, very supportive. And that was how we started the journey. So I assembled a team. As far as picking somebody from ICT department, ICT is usually not a unit or department that is fully involved in AML CFT. It's not a co-operational unit. But I went as far as picking somebody from that unit to come on board, and it has been amazing. At least today I can proudly say that I've also been able to mentor someone, and the team is still growing. So being women in AML CFT has also now given us, I believe going forward now, even at the highest level of government or authority, they should also begin to look at women and also perhaps placing us where we ought to be, because the competence has also been built. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We need to be rounding up now. But before we do that, Juliet, I'll come back to you because everybody's pointing at you. So I actually believe when men say you're a strong woman, you're a no-nonsense woman, that is their own way of saying this is a person of integrity. This is a person that is highly disciplined. This is a person that will step on toes, provided she's doing the right thing. That is what I always understand the stereotypes to mean. But maybe it's a question I said I wouldn't ask any woman again, because men don't get asked this question. How do we eventually strike a balance? Because all the women you see here, they are wives, they are mothers, they are busy executives, most of their lives, they spend a lot of their time on air, outside their house, traveling from one location to the other. How do you strike that balance? And this is a question maybe all of us can reflect on together. How are we combining all these things? The home is not failing, our children are there, our husbands are there, everything is growing, and the career is still flourishing. At the same time, please, can we celebrate ourselves and tell the story how we're doing this?
Thank you very much, Victoria. Like I said earlier, there's no easy path to all of this. And this is applicable not just in AML CFT, but across all sectors. For all women, the challenges will remain there to the extent that you've decided that you want to build a career. Just bear in mind that the challenges will be there. That's number one. Number two is, how do you then balance that challenge really? Is by really saying to yourself, okay, I need to have a way of building understanding between myself and my partner or my husband to ensure that we have a common goal or a common vision. It may not always work. If it works, then you are very lucky. Number three is even as you are traveling, you are thinking about home, food, children, and you want to make sure that everybody is okay. That's your responsibility. Nobody cares whether you are going for a workshop or you're going to be the chief executive of any bank or any organization. Nobody cares about that. What everybody wants to see is... Everybody just wants to see that you've been able to make it work and you've been able to put it together. I don't know why. Okay. Okay, it's working now. So everybody wants to see you make it work. And if you ever fail, then you are a failure. They don't care how you got to being a failure. But let me add to something that Gina said, and I think other people have picked up, which is, and I hope you don't mind, because I think it's important, the issue of gender parity and whether it matters. The way I see it is that it's something that is very important. It's important because we didn't start out with our colleagues who are men. Some women didn't have the opportunity to go to schools, especially in some families when the men were going to school. When they eventually manage to go to school and they have a career, you find that they are also denied some benefits and opportunities because they have to go have children, right? Then they have to come back. In a way, I think it's important to put that into consideration when we look at how to when we talk about equality and opportunities. But at the same time, one thing I've also said to women is prepare yourself. Prepare yourself so that you can be able to stand tall in any place you find yourself. Any work you are given, any opportunity you are given, be ready to take it up. Whether there is an opportunity for equality, whether anybody is going to consider you because you're a woman or not, just be ready for the battle, because it's never going to be easy. Now, yeah, you should clap for yourselves. For being in this room today, you have a reason already to clap for yourself, because it means that you left something to be here. You left a family, you left something, and you are here because you're committed to what you want to do. You're committed to what you're doing. So I can only just encourage everybody. But just bear in mind, there's no easy path to it. You're going to have obstacles. People are going to call you names. Whether you are the best person in that room, you will still be denied some opportunities. But be ready, keep on moving. Never yield. Just keep moving. That's my only advice. Thank you.
Also tell us.
I try this one.
Also tell us, while you're reflecting on that, also tell us if there are some aspects of AML work that women may not be exploring enough, because your Africa has over 32,000 compliance professionals as part of your members, and there may be a concentration of interest in one area. There are other areas, especially as technology is making crimes become more sophisticated. So are there other areas that you can advise women in AML to also explore?
Yeah, thank you. Is this okay? Yes. Yeah, thank you for that question. You've touched on a very live nerve for me. I think it's not just AML. I think it's AML compliance and actually any area. Technology and the new world of finance, cryptocurrencies, financial technology, fintechs, insurtechs. These fields are, I don't know, we haven't done a study on this, so I can't say this categorically, but just from a perception perspective, it seems to me that there are a lot of men in that field of artificial intelligence and cryptocurrency. They really take to it. There are women as well. But I honestly believe that if you want to create a career for yourself that is going to endure for the next 10 years, that's the field to be in. And so with that, I'm saying that you have to have that base knowledge of AML and of, how does a risk-based approach work? Because this is where your creativity comes in, is that you can translate all of that pre-existing knowledge into a completely new field. And that's for me where the challenge is going to be and where I really think that women can excel. That is my firm belief.
So, I'm sorry, Gina, before we move to, your final thoughts on what you think, how do women strike the balance? Are there areas of AML CFT that you think they should take an interest in, or any other career advice that you might want to share with women that are interested in becoming the acting general principal counsel of GIABA in the future?
All right, thank you very much, Victoria. I will not say too much in addition to what has been said. I'd rather recall an interview I think I granted when I was in secondary school and the hockey goalkeeper for my region. I mean, you say you will not believe I've been a sportswoman before. I used to do a lot, hockey, volleyball, basketball, soccer, always the captain. And that interview, I was interviewed as the hockey goalkeeper. And the question was, how do you manage to be in the post and, save all these balls? And, sometimes you can, the hockey balls are quite hard. What I said was, there's no harm in playing hockey. What you have to do is to focus on the ball. Focus on the ball. Because it is not the human being who enter the post that will score. It is when the ball crosses the line and enters the post that is dependent on what the referee or umpire, whoever saw. So you have to focus on what you are doing. Yes, I was educated in a large family. Everybody was happy. We were all educated. anyway, from a large family of 7 girls and 2 guys. So we were the guys and the ladies at the same time. Everybody is happy about your education. Everybody is seeing the bright future for you. And you don't have to let anybody down, not even yourself down. You have to tap your potential. In the same way, when you took up the challenge, I will also bring in the story about when I started dating my husband. He said, when we get married, I don't want you to be working. I said, hello, what is the name of this place? This is the University of Ghana. This is an educational institution, an education of higher education institution. And from here, I think I was in the law school, but staying on the University of Ghana campus. And I intend to be a fully fledged lawyer, solicitor and advocate of the Supreme Court, not in your kitchen. If you are looking for a cook, if you are looking for a maid, you are at the wrong place. And if I will stay in your kitchen, that will be by my choice. People invested in my education, and I should also invest in somebody's education if I cannot even feed myself. And that is the focus I've always carried. And Professor Shehu, I'll always go back to Professor Shehu. One day he called me to his office and said, I have not heard from you for a very long time. I said, yes, I had to go on leave. I decided to shut off and all that. He said, you know what? You have 2 husbands. And I was like, how? He said, this job is also your husband. Mm-hmm. And this one takes priority over your husband that you have left in Accra. I've been in Jaba for 17 years. And what we manage, balancing both, communicating on a daily basis. Even when you are not happy, you still have to keep the communication channels open. And always know that I don't see myself as a woman, I see myself as a partner. Yeah. Because if you ask me who wears the trousers in the house, I'll say we both wear the trousers. Because he has his trousers. I mean, you should tell me. We have different constructions in the trousers. Yona, you agree. Women, the flap goes from where? Right to left. And the men's trousers, the flap is from the left to the right. So you cannot say I'm wearing the trousers. I'm wearing my trousers. He is wearing his trousers. But even if you're wearing his trousers, you know that maybe yours is not available and you have to make use of somebody's. So it borders on trust. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you are there for the family, for your community, for your region, and we are delivering together globally. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Gina. You heard what she said, and I think men come into this conversation. And she also kept on talking about Professor Shehu, his contributions to also her career growth. I think maybe you can also talk to us, what is the role of men in women's success? And why we should have this conversation is, out of the 16 FIUs in West Africa, only 2 are women-led. It means that it's MLCFT, at the top echelon of MLCFT is still male-dominated. So we still need men to help women come up. So what do you think should be the role of men, whether as husband, whether as bosses, whether as brothers, whether as partners? What is the role of men in the women's career journey?
Okay, thank you for the question. It couldn't be more relevant given what has been discussed. But I think the men provide the support system. How a woman progresses depends on the support that they get from home. So they usually say behind every successful man, there's a woman, but the reverse is also true. And I'll say it and share personal experience. When I was first presented with the opportunity to join the ISAMLAC, it was first on secondment by the government of Botswana to the ISAMLAC Secretariat. The first question that I was asked was, are you taking the kids with you? Is your husband joining you? And I said, no. And then everybody's like, but how is that possible? So how are you leaving your husband and the kids behind and you are going to live abroad. It was inconceivable because we come from a patriarchal society. So it's okay for a man to go live abroad, leave the woman with the children, but it's not conceivable that a woman can do the same. But it was only that I had support from home, and I've always had my husband, saying, I know you have the potential and you can do it, and pushing me. And sometimes when I have doubts, it's always him who says, no, but you can do it. You've done it before, so you do it. So that really helps. And also, I think it comes also from the humility as a woman. As you go up the scale, you also need to know that at some point, your success will kind of overpower, the man. And that can create a lot of tension because everywhere you go, it's you and the husband is behind. So Gina was saying, who wears the trousers? So if you don't correct that, if you don't have the humility to make it very clear that much as I'm progressing, there is actually a very powerful man on my side that can overshadow everything. Yeah. Yes, that can overshadow everything, and it can even put the men in a position where they feel very inferior, and it can put a strain on the marriage. So you need that balance also to know that there is, the head of the family. And I need to elevate him, and people need to see that much as I'm in this position, I'm doing this type of work, but I also have my husband, and you put them out there. So if you don't do that, then sometimes that becomes a problem. Then issues at home, and then you end up, either having to pull back, go back home, or the marriage collapses, and then there's so many issues. But we as women also need to have the humility to know that men will always be, in terms of the Bible, in terms of whatever religion, our society, our culture, a man is always on a pedestal. You are always below the man, and you need the humility to know that and to make sure that he feels that. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelebole. I think that was very insightful. I'm coming to you, Biwoye, in your closing thoughts. Do you think that the government needs to make some investments, some targeted investment, instead of affirmative action, maybe get more women in compliance and let them compete on a level playing field with the men? So are there resources that are available? Are there investments that are on-call packages that you can recommend to women who may be interested, either provided by the Apex Bank or any of the commercial banks that you regulate?
Okay, thank you for that. I think firstly, before we even talk about other resources, I think mentorship and collaboration should be the key thing that I would say we rise by lifting others. We that are up there, we should try to replicate ourselves in one or two people. That, I think, before we wait for the government, I think that will go a long way when we try to replicate ourselves in our own little teams, then to the outside larger ecosystem to say, okay, I've reached the peak of like I always say, leadership, it's a journey. It doesn't come by the title. You will have started it from the one when you embarked on that task. So by the time you now get up, you have all the skills. Sometimes the classroom cannot, or training might not do what we really wanted, but we replicating ourselves. If we can do that in the next 5-10 years, I believe women will be there. We will be occupying spaces without people thinking, oh, they cannot do it. We have already proved ourselves that we have done it and we will do it again. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Ibinab, I'm coming to you. You're not last, but not the least. She talked about mentorship and collaboration. And I just realized that I've been collaborating with you for the past 10 years. And in the last 10 years, I remember we had our highs, we've had our lows, we have our troubles, we had our good moments, we've had our bad moments. Can you share with people what collaboration looks like in practice? Because sometimes people think collaborating means you are always friendly with each other. You're always, Can you share some of the struggles we've had, and so that people can see that it's not always a honeymoon affair?
Okay. Victoria, I don't know why you're putting me on the spot now. Okay, so the journey, our journey, School's journey with Spaces for Change, dated back, I think, 2019, like I mentioned earlier yesterday. She did a critique of our maiden NRA that was conducted in 2016. And she didn't consult us. She didn't consult the government authorities. And she published that critique on an international handle. And I love to read. So I bumped into that publication. I downloaded it. Then I took it to my director, then Mr. Francis Usani. And thankfully, Ajia Adiza is here. Ajia Adiza is my colleague and my madam also. And she was the coordinator for that NRA risk assessment. Then I brought it to the attention that I do not know this person, that even though the critique is actually, looks very, very meaningful, but we were never consulted. So she was talking from her own perspective, and she did not understand how we arrived at those conclusions. And going ahead to publish that report, I felt, oh my God, all the work Nigeria has done was just being presented in a light that I do not personally appreciate. So, thankfully, the director at that time had to now call for her. And we started the discussion. And that discussion was tough. She's a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. So by the time you say this, Victoria is telling you another thing. I will say this, she's bringing, and I said, no, you need to listen to us. You are a lawyer, you are in the private sector, but this is our own perspective. And this is how AML CFT work is being done. Can we listen? So I think the starting point was when we both agreed to listen to one another. So that was the success factor. And from that listening to each other, we began to collaborate. And the collaboration started with us having to do a joint outreach program. And I recall again, she said, oh, she was going to bring in experts from across Africa and every other place. I said, yes, but can you give us a chance so that we can also participate and also facilitate some of the sessions? Perhaps the experts you're looking for might just be close to you. And that was how I had to go back to NFIU to my colleagues, Oga Mustafa, Abdurrahman Mustafa, Ajia Adiza, Oga Francis, myself, and my colleague Temi Tokbe. We put the program together, and that was what broke the ice. And ever since, we have been having this collaboration because we now listen to ourselves, we now understand ourselves, and we have also learned from her. And that was how we're able to now come to the point that when we're doing the risk assessment, there was need for us to appoint a national as a technical expert to guide us through the process. So I think it's been a journey of mixed feelings, and we thank God for it.
Thank you, Vinaba, for sharing that. So, in summary, some of the things, some of the important points. One thing why I had this conversation, Vinaba is somebody that has inspired me greatly. We have become friends. We have, had a very rough moments where we have battled and disagreed on things. And also Haja Adiza, who has also been a mentor and part of our, the process as well. But if you have listened to this conversation, you will notice that it's a bit different from a lot of women in top leadership conversations. I think when we are asked these conversations in public platform, we sugarcoat things, especially when it comes to man and woman matters. Because I loved how you shared the experience about what your expectations in marriage would be. There's a lot of sugarcoating, and I think we need to tell young people the truth that it's not going to be easy. There are so many concessions to be made, and one of those concessions is humility, like you pointed out, that you need to be humble enough to know your role, that you are also a partner to this young man, that you have gone ahead does not mean you are now above. Going ahead does not mean you are above. It means that you are now getting more opportunities for the betterment of the family. And you also talked about areas, crypto and technology related roles that women can take into account. And thank you, Mrs. Juliet, for the leadership. Even though you are no longer the CEO of NFIU, but you can see the testimonies are still enduring long after. This happened over 10 years. People still talk about her like she left yesterday. And you can see some of the people she mentored are still saying, we have never had such firebrand leadership. So thank you so much for having led the AML in Africa. Thank you, Central Bank. Thank you, Binabo. Thank you, all the women in AML. And are you going to, do we have something to share with the women? And, two women want to say something. Can we give them a chance to say, okay, just go ahead, Shola.
All right. Thank you so much to this first panel. I mean, I feel so inspired. Really, honestly, I feel so inspired. And that cliche, there's also a saying that some women don't help, other women. And I think this panel has actually broken down that wall. But I have a question, and I want to shift the focus a bit from personal resilience to institutional support. So this panel has highlighted the fact that women hold several leadership roles, from family, community leadership, so many other responsibilities. Now, I've also understood that, of course, there is the role of that particular individual to be resilient. But what are the systemic support that you got, in the industry, in that industry where you worked, whether it is NFIU or it is SEC, or what institutional support did you get? What changed institutionally? And what needs to change to also help bring more women on board or lift them up, within that institution? So that's my question.
Okay. Which other person? Okay, just one more.
Thank you very much. My name is Hadiza. Mine is just a comment in addition to the, I think, question raised by Victoria, asking what kind of policies perhaps would be introduced in workplace that will support women out there. And one of the things I believe that is very strong for women is the fact that we need to have what we call the national gender work policies in place, such that we advocate for more crutches for women who are in this profession or any other profession at all. We need to have, policies that, accommodate maybe working hybrid at times or offline, such that if a woman has to attend perhaps to her child that is sick, it does not mean that she cannot contribute or she cannot report, from wherever she is. She doesn't have to be there physically for her to be able to work. And also we should be able to look at issues of because we have maternity leaves, we have these days paternity. So such leaves should actually, be comprehensive enough to accommodate the challenges that women face. And in that regard, opportunities that will come will not bypass women to say that, oh, she's soon going to have a child, or she'll soon be pregnant, or no, she has to close at so hours because she will tell you she has to attend to her family needs. Yes, that is very important because she needs to balance it, but it does not mean that she will give less than her best at workplace. So I know that the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs is currently working on such a policy, and I believe strongly it will soon be out, and that should support the women, in the professional world. Thank you.
Probably one of. Yes, yes. I mean, I will just quickly take it because we've run out of time. I think institutional support, the first question, systemic and institutional support may not always be there. So just be clear on that. Sometimes you find that you're on your own and you're running a battle and you're standing on your own. The question then is, and that's why I said earlier, be ready for any challenge or the challenges that you come across. If you get institutional support, then you're lucky. If it's not there, then you are on your own. And sometimes something may happen and they will just push you out and say, go, this is you, deal with your problem. But if you have it, fantastic. And so, again, when we talk about institutional support, it also depends on what we do while we're there. So even if we didn't benefit, can other people benefit? That has been my experience. I've had to leave organizations because I thought I've done what I need to do and others can continue. And I'm happy today to say that today we have Nigerian FI because some people fought for it. I had to fight to make sure that we had an independent FIU. It cost me my career in law enforcement. But I don't look back because I felt like I've done what I need to do. And today I'm happy. Everybody else is happy. And the Nigerian as a state is benefiting from it. So don't always think that the institutional support will be there. That's my advice. Secondly, I know that there's a national gender policy in Nigeria. The problem is whether it's being implemented. And I agree with you that we need more support as we move on in our career. Today, I was just telling somebody that in my office, I probably have 80%. This is my private office, 80% women working for me. My 2 managers are women. Of course, the issue, and they're young. The issue of getting pregnant will be there, whether 2 of them will not be around at the same time. But we have to build other support around them. Create a friendly environment. Create opportunity for hybrid. Create opportunity where they can bring their children to the office. That, for me, is fundamentally important. And so I think that as we discuss or have this conversation, other women should also be thinking, if I find myself in this position, how do I manage the women around me? Interestingly, I've also had to work with so many men. In my life, Dr. Shehu is also one of them. But the question I always think is that our men have their own ways of thinking. Our women have their own ways of thinking. This is Africa, and people have different ways of thinking. How do we meet at a certain point to make sure that we support each other, whether you're a man or woman, without, being the obstacle? Thank you.
So that brings us to the end of the panel. I'm being told that we're out of time. So I'm handing over to the compere. She says she has some package for the panelists to celebrate them.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. So please put your hands together for this amazing woman. It's indeed a masterclass. I've learned so much and we're grateful for each and every one of you. Before you take your seats, we have some little presents to present to you on behalf of the Third Africa High Level Civil Society. We'll be handing over these plaques. We want to call on, first off, Mrs. Ibiwoye Folakemi Wumi. Please put your hands together for her. Yes. All right. Yes. Please put your hands together for her. We also have this special gift, specially presented to you, Ryan Pottinger. Next is, okay. Next is Mrs. Juliet Ibekaku Nwagu.
Thank you very much. Just keep it. Okay.
We have Miss Moremi Kelebo-Gile. Okay, we present this to Miss Gina Wood. Thank you, ma'am. We also have Mrs. Hajia Hafsat Bakari. Oh, okay. All right, she's not here. And to our delectable ED, Victoria Ibezim Ohari. This is for you. All right, so please, can you kindly stand here so we can just have a quick group photograph before you take your seats? Please, a group photograph. With your plaques, please, if you will.